Hello, everybody. Here we are again, and today I want to do two things. The first thing that I want to do is, I believe Anne, her last name starts with a B. I believe she is in London, and she asked me, I believe it's her. I think it was her. Anyway, I believe she was asking me about diluting either chocolate absolute. I have cocoa absolute. My cocoa absolute is from Eden Botanicals, and she asked about diluting that. So I am going to do a teaching today, and it's going to be on how to do in this case, I'm going to do a 20% dilution. So I have a 15 ml vial. So we're going to do a 20% dilution in a 15 ml vial. And I'll tell you something a little bit interesting about that. How weird, but when you fill this up to the top, it actually holds 12. Hello, Laura. It actually holds 12 mils. That's what's kind of interesting about this. And you just have to take my word for it. And depending on how heavy or light your materials that you put in here are, it could be a tiny bit less than 12 mils. It could be a tiny bit more than 12 mils. It just kind of depends. But a great rule of thumb is that this holds 12 mil. So when you're doing your calculations, that is what you want to use, is the 12 mil. So if we're doing 20% of this 12 mil, that's going to be 2.4 of the the cocoa absolute in here. And then because this is a natural, I'm going to use Perfumers alcohol. You could also use TEC. But sorry, my nose is itching. So that is what I'm going to use instead of IPM, isopropyl myrcete. You could use that if you wanted to. If you want to, you can. But for naturals, I tend to stay with the two natural carriers, which is the Perfumers alcohol and the TEC. Now, some of you are like, oh my God, well, the other natural carrier is fractionated coconut oil. I get that. But when you're doing perfumery with alcohol perfumery like this, you don't want to use oils. So you don't want to use the coconut oil as a carrier. You just don't want to do that. The coconut oil, as you may already know, but in case you don't, the fractionated coconut oil carrier is for your roll-ons, that kind of stuff, or your massage body oil, that kind of stuff. That is different. You don't want to do that when you're making this type of perfume. So here we go. So I have I'm sorry you're not going to be able to read this, but we're going to turn it on. You just have to take my word for it. And you just make sure it's all at zeros, because this, just blowing on it makes it go crazy. It's that sensitive, which is awesome. So it is calibrated correctly to all zeros. So I'm going to set this on, and then we're going to tare it or bring it to zero. With this one, sometimes I have to hit it twice. So there we go. So now we're all at zeros. Amy, this one is for you. I swear I thought it was you who asked about diluting a chocolate absolute. I have the cocoa absolute. I swear I thought it was you. I get too many emails and that kind of stuff. But and Jasmine, hello. So good to have you here. So I am diluting the 100% cocoa absolute to a 20%. So not you, Amy. Oh, okay. Jasmine, maybe it was you. I just don't remember who, but somebody in the last few days asked me if I would do a video on it. So here you go. So anyway, 20%. So remember, this is going to hold 12 mils. That's going to be the volume. And so dividing that out, it's going to be 2.4%, or 2.4, not 2.4%, 2.4 mils. This is very, very thick. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. This is super thick. So I'm just doing the drops. We're at 0.7. So here we go, here we go. We're looking for 2.4, we're at 2. Here's where you just do drop by drop. What did I just say? Drop by drop. Oh my gosh, this never happens. 2.400. Oh my God, really? That it rarely happens. That's so amazing. So now I just leave it right there. And the easiest thing to do, you don't even tear it again, because you know you're going to go up to 12. The 12 is the whole volume. So now just start adding your carrier and go to 12 grams. Because I do it by grams, obviously. And you watch it'll like go right to the top and be perfect. Although, I'll tell you, this might not be perfect because it's so heavy and thick. We will just see where it goes to. And I don't like to pour out of a bigger container like this. Because it's easy for it to just kind of go everywhere and you're not going to have as much control. So doing it out of these pen type dispensers is, to me, safer. And you can do drops way easier. So it is a good idea to use these. We're at 7. We're going all the way to 12. We're at 9. Oh, I am going to be correct. Now I'm doing just drop by drop. $12.001. That is awesome. So now you're perfectly spot on. So you can see 12 mils. That's awesome. It's just what happens. So I'm going to put the cap on and do a little shake, because see how it's still at the bottom? That's how thick it is. That's how thick. I already shook it some. So you will be able to know. Get one thing really quick. I held it upside down. Okay. So that is how you do a 20% dilution. And yeah, I just put it on me. Oh, it smells so good. It's awesome. It really does smell. Smells a little bit to me more like milk chocolate instead of dark chocolate. I'm a dark chocolate kind of guy. This smells, it smells more like a milk chocolate, which means it's just a little bit sweeter. So, and without that, without the, why do I get on here and lose my words? Without the bitterness of dark chocolate. So it's awesome. It's perfect. I love it. And there you go. So, so it spilled a little bit. Okay. Because I held it upside down for so long. Alsafair, what up? Good to see you. So that's how, again, I would just say either Perfumers alcohol, which I recommend more than I would the tech. Why? Because to me, the tech is where you're working with naturals that are a little bit more hardcore, meaning a little bit more difficult, a little bit more solid, a little bit more difficult to, like your crystals, your powders, natural crystals, powders, that kind of stuff. To me, that's where I use my tech. And I tend to go with the Perfumers alcohol with the natural. It just works better. And there is my dog. Oh my gosh. There you go. He's fine, I promise. I just know I'm going to get emails all the time about how my dog is sick or something, but he's not. He's all good. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is hopefully some encouragement. I was talking to Laura yesterday and just kind of talking to her and just kind of rambling, and she's like, oh my god, you ought to talk about that on the video. So here we go. So yesterday I just picked up one that I haven't smelled in quite a while. So I'll tell you which one it was, because it doesn't really matter which one it was. It's kind of the whole concept that I'm going to talk about. And that is Botanical Blend Floral and Wood, which, by the way, makes me so sad because I don't see it on Creating Perfume anymore. And I have this, I'm at the very bottom, and I don't think I can get it anymore, which I'm not going to lie, stresses me out. But anyway, because I really, really like it. The bottom line is that I opened it up, and I was like, what? I don't remember it smelling like this. And then I'm like, wait a minute. I have grown my nose. The palette has broadened and gotten better and more refined, meaning the reason why it doesn't smell the same to me is because used to, back in the day, I would go, oh, it smells like wood and floral. The end. Now I'm like, what? Oh my gosh. It smells like blonde wood, freshly cut. It smells like there's some what is the word? Terpene in it. There's the floral. It takes a back seat. It's there. This is not sweet. And there's all these nuances that I'm able to smell now, where back in the day, I just smelled, it's floral and wood, mostly wood. And that's kind of, that was my description. And that's kind of what I picked up on. And this is what, if it's not already happening for you, I promise you, it will happen for you. I promise. you continue doing what Vivian and Alora and I continue to help you with and show you, and learning your materials. That is something I am hardcore about. I on myself is that I want to learn these materials. I want to learn them. I don't want to just be, a blind smell and be able to tell you what it is. That, but even more than that, I want to know this material. Like I should know how many hours for me. I should know how many hours. I should know if it's like a middle note, a top note, whatever. I should know what it's going to do in a particular formula. I should know what it's going to do with certain other materials. That's the kind of stuff I want to know and I want to learn. And being able to smell the nuances in it, I'm just going to pick another one off the top of my head, tobaccorol. So with tobaccorol, learning to pick out the nuances when you smell that. Oh, I get this. I get this. I get a little bit of creaminess. I get a little bit of coumarin in there. I get tobacco, of course, and I get, all those different types of things. Stopping and smelling the roses, as cliche as that is, but really trying to pick out those nuances are going to really, really help you to. What's it going to help you do? It's going to help you do this. It's going to help you in your development of your formulas. So when you are like, I want a tobacco leather formula, and I want it to go where, I don't know, there's some florals in the background, and at the same time, I have this milkiness in a gourmand kind of a way, and maybe a tiny bit of caramel in the background, just kind of in the background, but there. Then you're going to be able to say, hey, I know what I'm going to need, and just pull all of your things that you think. And then if you need to, open one at a time and smell each one of them and say, how do you think all that is going to go together? And then you may be like, okay, where's your caramel going to come from? And think about that. Take your time for that. Take your time for it. There's going to be some, I would put vanilla in there. So where's your vanilla going to come from? Where's your tobacco going to come from? Where's your coumarin, that kind of stuff going to come from? And where's your floral in the background going to come from? And what type of floral do you want? Taking your time to do those things are going to become more and more natural for you, but easier for you when you learn your materials and when you get to know not only the individual material, but also how they interact and how they coincide, how they blend and go together. That is how you will get better and better and better with your formulating. So I'm going to bring up just one more time my incense accord. I was telling Alora that I made this way back in the day. I don't know if I said this. If I said this on the other video yesterday, sorry. I don't remember what I said on the video and what I said to Alora on the phone. So anyway, when I made this back in the day, it was an incense accord, which there are many types of. There are smoky ones, and there's ones that aren't smoky, and blah, 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 blah. So, but anyway, I made one, and I only had a certain number of materials to work with. And that was awesome, and I loved it. And I was like, oh my God, this is a really cool one, because I played and tried to make it how I wanted it to be, and I came up with my incense accord, which I put a little bit of extra wood in it. And And then since I've gotten some new materials that I've never smelled before, never worked with before, but I knew, I'm like, these are going to be good for incense. And so now I took my old ones and I took my new ones, learning my new ones and how they would work with this one and putting it all together. And now I have, for me, the type of incense that I wanted, because there's all kinds. I put this together and wow, totally way more complex than the other one, than the old one. So that just lets you know that one, when you get some new materials, some more materials, your stuff is going to end up being a little bit more complex when you start including those into your new formulas. But then number two is that you will be able to, one, you're going to know more materials, but two, to me, this is just like, there's no comparison, this one with the old one, in my opinion. It's just way more complex. It's more of how I envisioned a incense accord to be. So my whole point in all of this is just to encourage you to continue. I don't care how much or quote how little number of materials that you have. I mean, I remember when I had 40 and 30 of them were citrus essential oils. I mean, I just had some essential oils, and I remember I didn't even have patchouli. I just had some essential oils, and I had just a couple of other things. And that was it that I played with. And I would do stuff with it and learn and grow and whatever, because that was still me learning my materials and how they work well together. And I feel like I'm repeating myself, but I'm going to say it anyway, just in case. I learned from my mistakes, and I made a formula. It was so awful. I called it cow poop. I think I did share that. Well, that's important. And let me tell you, I did not throw away the formula that I made, the juice that I made, because later, I made that way back in the day, and I came back probably 4 or 5 weeks ago and got my book open to that page, because I have a number on here that coincides with the number in my book, of course, so it's easy to find, and went back and decided what was it about this that is making this not correct, and I learned from that. So I still have the juice that I want to keep to learn from. So it's just super, super important. And I think I'm going to talk about one other thing. I always get on here and change my mind. Sorry, again, I'm just not even looking to the side because I want to be pretty focused on this. So this, I bet you a lot of people have questions about and are like, how do you do this? And what do you do? I'm not saying I had the final answer. I'm saying from what I have learned so far, and I have more to learn. But how do you take the citruses and make them last longer? People are like, oh my God, absolutely. What the hell do you do? I will give you some ideas, and they are things that you need to play with, because it's going to depend on the formula that you do. So that part can make it a little bit confusing, but I don't even want to start with the very first one. I'm going to start with the easy stuff and then get to the more complicated. I think that's the way, and that's not the order that I wrote them in. But here's what you can do. The first thing is dihydromercenol, and probably all of you know that, dihydromercenol, because you can go in the lime direction or the lemon direction with that. And that will give you later on 2-3 hours into your fragrance the illusion, and Alora's talked about that a lot, the illusion of that citrus still being around. So that's one way. Tetrahydromercanol is another one. However, that's just from my reading, because it's in my cart to purchase, but I don't have it yet. But it is one of those that I want. And from my reading, that is going to be another one similar to the dihydromercanol. So that's another way. The other thing that's going to be pretty simple is called Perfumers Fixative. That Perfumers Fixative, and I didn't write down the name of like exactly what it is, because there's a specific name, Humulin D. I forgot. I'm just not going to even say what it is because I don't remember. But at any rate, it's called Perfumers Fixative, and it's on creatingperfume.com. However, for me, and this is what I'm going to suggest for you, only using that for your citruses and minute amounts. You do not need a lot and do not use a lot. You're like, well, if it's a fixative and it helps fixate, it helps fix and make sure citruses last longer, why not add more? Because it dampens and will, I mean, like a wet rag over your fragrance, and you don't want that. You can use a minute amount of it and it will help without dampening or bringing it down, because it's not going to like bring it up and bring projection or anything like that. That's not what this is for, because it's a heavy molecule. It is going to help bring some structure and make it last a little bit longer. And that is, again, in a minute amount. Don't use a lot. You're like, well, how much? Okay. For me, I decided, so this is a 2 ml container. If I was in it 100% undiluted, if this were a citrus perfume, undiluted, so just a fragrance, where are my words? Formula, undiluted formula, I would put 2 drops. So basically that's 1 drop per ml in 100% undiluted fragrance concentrate. That's me. I'm just telling you what I think. And it's just a guideline. But just knowing, if you're like, oh my God, more is better, not with this one. With the Perfumers Fixative, no. And I even wrote down here 1 drop per 1 ml concentrate. So the next thing that can be helpful, and these are my opinions and what I have kind of done, galaxolide, that can be a little bit helpful to kind of give some structure. Again, it's not going to give projection. We're talking about longevity of citrus oils in your fragrance. So if you have a citrus formula, putting some galaxolide in there can be helpful. And I'm not saying put all these, but you can at least have one of these in there and it will be helpful. But I put down galaxolide, frankincense. Seriously, think about it. Frankincense is very bright. It actually could give you some lift. And if that's something that you really like, and you don't have to put a lot, so the fragrance isn't frankincense in your citrus unless you really like that. Just adding a little bit of that in there can be very helpful. Zenolide. Why zenolide? Zenolide's a musk. It's very light. It's very, very clean. I love that for that reason, for the citruses. is it like, to me, it will bring some longevity. And I have my baby. Oh my goodness. He says hello. He is such a sweet boy. I swear to God, he's so sweet. He just had his birthday and turned 4. Anyway, the other one is Sandella. Sandella is a sandalwood, and it does not have much of a fragrance at all. And using just a small, minute amount of that as well, it's very, very thick, can be helpful with those citruses again. So Sandella, which is in the sandalwood, it's a sandalwood. Another one is Herculean D. Everybody on here, you probably knew I was going to say Herculean D. Again, because it has a, not even to me, but it has a little bit of amber, but it's not a heavy amber at all. Like I get nothing. I personally don't smell anything with Herculean D. To me, it does not interfere at all with any type of formula I've ever made. All it does to me is it is a fixative. I would not use a lot. Again, I think I've said that with every single thing that I've said, is it doesn't necessarily use a lot. But at Herculean D, yeah, I'm poor, so it does not cost a lot. It doesn't. So I love me some Herculean D for that reason. Oh my God. The next one is probably going to be the most controversial, but whatever, is my show, so I'm going to share it because it may really, really work for you, as I've used it before. Ambrocenide, 10%, Ambrocenide, Ambrocenide. It's at 10%. Let me see if I can find out where it's from or who makes it. Anyway, it's on creatingperfume.com. It's by Simrise. It's 400 hours on the test strip. This one is going to have an aroma. So when you do a citrus wood or a citrus amber, this is your go-to, okay? Because this, and you do not want to use a lot because it will go a long way with those citruses. It's very, very strong, but look, you're watching this, trust me on this. If you're doing a citrus wood, put this in here, at least 1 drop in your formula. Don't sit there and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in your formula. Way too much. It's very, very, very strong. But this will help with longevity in your citrus with wood. So if that's what you're trying to pull off, which a lot of guys love citrus wood stuff. And if that's what you're going, because this is to me, a little bit could be more on the masculine scale, but that's to me where it's a little bit higher dose. And if you're doing just a low dose, just to use this for the longevity of your citruses, 1 drop, it can go either way because you could do the citrus and floral and blah, blah, whatever. But this is another really good one. It's just it is by far the one that has the most aroma. So just take that into consideration when you're doing that. So I appreciate you. What we did today, I'll just go over really, really quick, is we did this Cocoa Absolute. We diluted it to a 20%. I gave you some encouragement about how you can grow and you will grow with your nose and smelling something 9 months ago and then smelling it now, how it will be completely different. So that is your homework for today. Look in all of your materials, pick out something you have not picked up in a very long time, and take the time to smell it and see if you pick up more nuances. Seriously, that's your homework today. Stop, smell the roses, pick one thing out, and just see. That will let you know how you are growing, because I bet you are. And then the last thing I went over were how to make your citruses last longer. So I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you. If you are wanting to help support me, you can do one of two things. That is my Etsy page, and it is Mountain Aromatics. Just type that in. That's the name of my store. So if you just type in Mountain Aromatics, a bunch of products will show up, but it also says, do you mean the store? And just click on that. That'll bring you to my Etsy store. And then the other thing that you are welcome to do, if you would like, is my Patreon page. And that's just a simple way for you to support me with $2 a month or $5 a month or more. There's also different, pardon my dog, different things that I give you for the different levels of giving. And some people are like, yeah, I know Patreon and I've been on there and I support other people and that kind of stuff as well. So you're familiar with it. But in case you're not, that information is there on Patreon. And again, on Patreon, it's Mountain Aromatics. And I so appreciate you guys. I love you. Thank you so much for watching and continuing to learn with me. I appreciate that. And hopefully this is a great classroom for you. I will see you on the next Mountain Aromatics. If you like this, give me a thumbs up. And if you have not subscribed, again, now to figure this out. Guys, have a good day.